When you pick up a new platformer, you can almost tell within the first 10 minutes of gameplay if it's going to be a banger or not. The good ones make you feel almost instantly connected with the character, as if they already know what you want them to do. The movement feels tight, organic, and responsive. You never feel cheated by something unpredictable, and the levels feel as if they're literally designed to accommodate how the player moves, which, spoiler, they are. These games can be totally difficult too, but they make you feel empowered to be able to tackle the challenges they've placed before you. Celeste, Donkey Kong, Super Mario World, Ori, Cuphead, Hollow Knight, all of these platformers strike that chord with their oh-so-sweet luxury-grade platforming. What's their secret? Is there a silver bullet? Well, yeah. Or at least several bullets that, when intentionally crafted and fired together, create masterpiece platformers. And while I run the risk of sounding boastful here, I'd like to humbly submit that our game Tethergeist is one of those masterpieces. So in this video, I'd like to explain what each of those mini silver bullets are and how my team of 3 has implemented them in Tethergeist over the span of 3 years of development. Hopefully by the end of the video, you'll be convinced that we're onto something special here at O&Co Games, and maybe you'll even consider playing and wishlisting our free demo on Steam and backing our project on Kickstarter. Links in the description below. Now, the first key ingredient to an excellent platformer is its ability to empower player movement. Inputs need to feel responsive and predictable, using tight physics that make the player always feel in control without being so rigid that it no longer feels organic. Within this framework, the game needs to have movement systems that are both exciting and satisfying to execute, and level layouts and environmental elements that are designed to make those movements all the juicier. Now, when it comes to making responsive inputs as a video game developer, it's not as simple as just making the character move the way I expect them to move. In Tethergeist, we have conducted literally hundreds, if not thousands, of playtests to arrive at the basic player movements in the game. And I'm not talking about the special abilities yet, we'll get to those here in a bit. I'm just talking about the basic run and jump movements. Her run speed has been refined over several months to be just right. Not so slow that she feels sluggish, but not so fast that she feels out of control. Our acceleration variables and deceleration variables follow this practice as well, with her acceleration being just a tad smoother than her deceleration, making it easy to stop and organic to move forward, all intentionally animated to communicate this. You'll even notice a stop animation at the end of her run cycle. Jumping is also designed such that our character has a variable jump height based on how long the player holds the jump button. Acceleration and deceleration variables are also different based on if she is airborne or not. Holding jump makes her fall slower, letting go makes her fall a bit faster, and holding down makes her fall faster still. This was all very intentionally designed through several iterations of playtests and refining the game's physics based on our findings. And our hard work seems to have paid off.
And then Tethergeist. Yeah, I played that, and again, just like, it's kind of a Celeste-like and just really, really satisfying movement.
Now, with that foundation in place, we've designed powerful movement mechanics that follow the same principles of responsiveness. In Tethergeist, you can split and rejoin with your ghost in several different ways, depending on which power-up or nectar type you have picked up and loaded into your hopper. These abilities explore movement systems in unique and interesting ways, all while being provided in levels that have platforms, walls, and obstacles that are tediously placed in just the right locations to make those movements not only possible, but satisfying to accomplish. Again, we know we got the layouts right from several rounds of playtests. By having the levels designed around the movement mechanics, we're able to ramp up the difficulty of the game such that the player isn't so much limited by not being able to move how they want to, but instead are challenged with obstacles that have risen to their level of movement abilities. All of this blended together is the first mini silver bullet of empowering the player. The next key ingredient to an excellent platformer is its ability to predict the player's intended inputs. Or in other words, the game should do what the player is trying to input, even if their input is slightly different from what they had intended. Now, a few examples we almost always see in game design videos are coyote time. That is, if a player runs slightly off a ledge, the character will still jump if the player presses the jump button. Input buffering, for example, if the player presses jump right before touching the ground, the character should still jump when they hit the ground. And variable jump heights, which we just discussed. Beyond that though, masterpiece platformers also do a good job of selectively ignoring the inputs that the player doesn't mean to perform. So here's an example. In Tethergeist, you can perform wall jumps by either sliding on a wall and pressing jump, or by just jumping when the player is close enough to a wall. Again, it's one of those predictive things. But suppose a player is sliding down a wall on the left and presses right just before pressing the jump button, which honestly is something we found to be very common in our playtests. Rather than peeling the player player away from the wall and not allowing them to jump, we've included a short 10-frame buffer in which the character still slides on the wall, allowing the player to press right just before they press the jump button. In other words, they don't have to be frame perfect to be able to perform a successful wall jump. And this is just one small example. We've implemented this predictive mindset in every movement system we have in the game, from spirit tether chaining to area contingent push and pull jellyfish, all through our rigorous playtesting process. Okay, now the final ingredient to an excellent platformer is an intentionally designed difficulty curve, one that makes the game satisfyingly difficult but never feels unfair. Now, every platformer varies in how difficult it is, but the true masterpieces are the ones that have designed the difficulty to ramp up at the right pace, as they've effectively equipped the player with the right skills. Much like Celeste, Tethergeist is on the more difficult side of platformers, but we feel confident that just about any player who picks it up can eventually beat the main story, side challenges aside. My wife, who does not play video games at all and honestly has very little interest in the difficult ones, has picked up Tethergeist and completed the demo. She might hold the record for most deaths, but she finished the demo and she honestly loved every minute of it. Which, I'm sure she's biased, but still, we saw several non-platformer enthusiasts at PAX West play through our demo and experience the exact same thing. So how have we designed a high level of difficulty that can still be accessed by just about everyone? Well, we've designed our onboarding experience and game loop to very specifically fit the difficulty curve we're aiming for through, you guessed it, continual iterative playtesting. Our tutorial section is built to provide just the right amount of instruction without feeling too handholdy. The player learns each movement system with a minimalist tutorial prompt accompanied by obstacles that give them hands-on experience. Each movement ability is introduced this way, and we found that people pick them up quickly, allowing us to in turn ramp up the difficulty relatively quickly as well. Not to mention, for controller players, we only have 2 buttons being used in the right hand: jump and your spirit ability. We've also included frequent checkpoints, so failure never feels too punishing. My wife would frequently put down the controller and claim she was done playing because her thumbs needed a break, then 30 seconds later pick it right back up because she felt so encouraged that she could beat it on her next try. This loop of difficult obstacles paired with empowering movement systems and predictive inputs has led our playtesters to audibly cheer when they beat challenging stages and become true Tethergeist fans over and over again. Now, of course, this is not an exhaustive list of everything that goes into a successful platformer, but these design principles do act as very strong foundational components of the greats. Then building on these aspects, platformers have explored all sorts of exciting ideas in new and innovative ways. Celeste with its beautiful narrative on anxiety, or Cuphead with its exploration of rubber hose animation in the gaming space. Now, our game Tethergeist, beyond using these foundational design principles, is also a heartfelt story in a fantasy world with deep lore and characters. It exhibits a soundtrack that I can actually say I'm quite proud of, and has gorgeous artwork inspired by Hyper Light Drifter and Studio Ghibli, all built within unique and exciting new movement systems. Oh, and we have no in-game purchases and a cute spirit axolotl, so we've got everything. Anyway, I said at the beginning that hopefully by the end of this video, you'd be convinced we're onto something special here. If you have been convinced, we'd be honored to have you wishlist Tethergeist on Steam and back us on Kickstarter using the links below. And subscribing here on YouTube would be pretty cool too. And if you're not convinced yet, maybe at least go play our demo and see if that changes your mind. Whatever the case is, this is our passion project, and we've really put our hearts and souls into making Tethergeist the best platformer it can possibly be. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.